Many of the animals on farms and ranches across the Heartland can trace their roots back to explorers arriving here in the Americas. And here in Florida, one unique breed of cattle has been roaming the countryside since the 1500s. These cattle grazing in the brushy Florida pasture have a name, and unless you're a Florida native, that name might just catch you off guard. These are cracker cattle. And William and Margaret Broussard are proud of this heritage breed of cattle that they're preserving here at the Crescent Jay Ranch.
We did it to preserve the heritage, and Albert Einstein said every human being should attempt to leave the world a better place than you found it. And I feel that way. I think we need to do that.
William Broussard is a 10th generation cattleman. Without his family's efforts and those of other ranchers in the Sunshine State, this historic breed might just have ended up as a footnote in the agricultural history of America. Today, cracker cattle graze on the Broussard's Ranch and Wildlife Preserve just outside of Orlando.
We decided to take part in trying to save the breed, which is critically endangered. There's not enough of them to assure their survival. So we got started in the early 80s working on that. And we now have the largest registered herd of these cattle in existence.
The original cracker cattle breed was brought to Florida by explorer Ponce de Leon in the 1500s. They were some of the earliest cattle to set foot in the continental United States. Many of these early Spanish explorers were quickly chased back to their ships by Native Americans, but the cattle stayed. As more cattle were brought to the Americas, they too wandered the swampy, brushy countryside for hundreds of years. Decades back, ranchers used cow hunters to work these herds. Preserving that ranching story is the job of Chester Newcomb. At the Lake Kissimmee State Park, Chester takes visitors back to the late 1800s when cracker cattle roamed the countryside.
Now what you're looking at in there, of course, be what we call scrub cows. Now, we call these things scrub cows, you know, Florida be an open range state. Meaning simply the cows in this state run wild. We only pen a cow up when we're going to be working with it. This part of Florida, we look at almost 300 years before man started to put a brand on a cow. I mean, one of the reasons they called us cow hunters. You go out in the swamp here trying to find a cow be like trying to find hair in the belly of a frog, you know?
The cracker name actually traces back to the way that the cow hunters rounded up these bovine by cracking their whips.
We call this thing, of course, a wife tamer. Actually, it was called a drag. When you're on a horse working a cow, this is the way it be carried. It would do you no good tied to a saddle. Well, of course, you'll find in the big cities now, folks are starting to call us crackers instead of cow hunters.
As other cattle breeds were introduced and breeding improved, the original cracker cattle began disappearing, replaced with larger animals. It wasn't until they were almost extinct in the 1960s that an effort began to save the cracker breed. For the Broussards, preserving the cattle breed and the ecology here have a deeply personal meaning. In 1990, their 29-year-old son Alan died of an infection following a heart transplant. Before Alan died, he had a conversation with his father in the hospital.
We got to talking a lot about the land just south of what is the Crescent Jay Ranch, which was pretty much in good natural condition, and how rare that was getting and how important it was to save things like that. And so he asked me if I couldn't do something. That was his wish. That was his wish. He really helped me understand the importance of protecting the environment better than I did before. So that weekend I promised him I was going to do my best to do that.
see up ahead over here, that one bull kicking up the dust and dirt.
That promise is realized every day as visitors tour the grounds of this nearly 5,000-acre ranch and preserve. A low environmental impact adventure park helps pay for the property and helps ensure the land will stay preserved for future generations. The ranch and nature preserve are separated so that the natural vegetation can flourish. Would Alan be proud of his dream being realized?
I would think so.
His widow said yes, he would be proud of that, but the thing he would be most proud of is the way he changed his father's attitude.
Yeah.
A father's enduring love for his son, forever linked to the enduring effort to save a breed of cattle with a history that stretches hundreds of years.